Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Filmsplaining. I'm your host, Martyn Strange. On this show, I talk about movies that I love, why I love them, and why you should love them too. And this movie just hit me like a lightning bolt. This is the second time that I've seen it now. I just came from the theater, and it blew me away. As you can probably guess from my tiny little mustache, the film, of course, is Marty Supreme. This is the new film from Josh Safdie of the Safdie brothers. We will see if they remain separated after this very interesting year for both of them. But it, of course, stars Timothée Chalamet as Marty Mauser, a hot-headed, motor-mouthed ping-pong extraordinaire who seemingly can talk his way in and out of any possible situation. He is aimed for greatness. He believes he is destined to be the best, and he will stop at nothing to get what's coming to him. Everything you see in terms of the marketing of this movie has placed a huge emphasis on the phrase "made in America." And I think that's really interesting and a point that I want to focus on in this video because this is a story that feels uniquely American. It is a story of a young Jewish American who is trying desperately in any way he can to make it out of the sort of doldrums of his life. And he does this through an unbelievable self-confidence. The level of will and sheer determination that this guy, Marty Mauser, exudes is really, really just shocking stuff. And you see this a lot in terms of athletes and very successful, highly motivated people. They have a willpower and a drive in them that simply just kind of doesn't really exist for many other people. I think this is a very interesting movie about masculinity, about determination and free will, and the drive that artists and athletes and anyone performing at a high caliber has to put themselves through in order to see something through to its logical conclusion. Marty mentions that his entire life is for a purpose and that he's destined to see something through. He even claims that this puts him at a disadvantage among everyone else because he has one objective, and that's to be the best. So there's all of these themes of American made. What does that actually mean? What does it mean in the 1950s? This is a movie very specifically placed within the context of post-war New York, post-war America, post-war world. And Marty is kind of a logical extension of the sort of American ideal of picking up yourself by your bootstraps, putting it all out there, being the best, being what everyone seems to want, what everyone seems to strive for. He mentions that before long, someone will be staring at him from the front of a Wheaties box. This is a guy who has no real obstacle in his way other than his own ignorance and his own self-aggrandizement. Make no mistake, Marty Mauser is not a likable guy, and I really love that Josh Safdie and Timothée Chalamet didn't even attempt to make him a likable guy. This guy is despicable. He's repugnant. He is a compulsive liar. He is violent. He is impulsive and is prone to outbursts of insane kind of entitlement and belittling people around him. He uses every single person in his life for his own personal advantage. His girlfriend, who is not really his girlfriend, really just a childhood friend, but they have been sort of together. They're having an affair because she is married, and he uses her in all of these different ways throughout the film, is constantly relying on her, but still using her to his own benefit. He's also constantly relying on Gwyneth Paltrow's character, Kay. She's a famed movie actress who is kind of yesterday's news, and she's on a sort of comeback tour, more or less, trying to get back on stage and get people's attention again. Very interesting that Gwyneth Paltrow was cast in this part. I am 1000% sure that that was by design from Josh Safdie. But Marty relies on her for her money and for her connections. She gets him connected to her husband, who then is going to prop him up for this exhibition match in Japan and sell pins because he's a pin salesman and also a vampire, apparently. Marty is always working himself into a situation that most people would crumble under. This is what I'm talking about with the sheer kind of determination and willpower that he has. He is never really phased. He's kind of always on to the next thing. He's constantly pushing himself, constantly removing any obstacles in his way, yet he keeps driving himself deeper and deeper down into this pit of emptiness and of a kind of self-made prison, because he talks a lot and he has terrible, tasteless jokes, and he is very off-putting to pretty much anyone who interacts with him in the movie. He has one true friend, Wally, a fellow ping pong player and a cab driver. He's played by Tyler Okonma, aka Tyler, the Creator, who I think is actually really good in this movie. I was really surprised that he was able to hold his own against Timothée Chalamet, frankly. But this guy is sort of his lifeline to the outside world, at least to the kind of normalcy that most people are dealing with and most people are having to live through in this post-war world that has been made. And they have a kind of like hustling technique together where they go around to different local pool halls and ping pong houses and hustle, and it's all about getting just enough to make it to the next thing so that Marty can get his big shot. He can get his title shot. He can get on the plane to Japan, where he's going to face off against Endo, who beat him in the finals in the British Open. I'm skipping all around with the plot here, but really I just want to talk more about the performances in this movie and the craft of it. I mean, the craft of it is stunning. I will say that the score from Daniel Lopatin, who has worked previously on the Safdie brothers films, Good Time and Uncut Gems, is really cooking up something cool here. It's very minimal, a lot of it, but he's mixing all of these different things like digital synths and mallets and very percussive melodies and very like choral arrangements mixed with strings, mixed with this music that is kind of non-diegetic and feeding in and out of the movie. Of course, a lot of people are already talking about the fact that there are all these 80s needle drops in the film. The film would not be the same without these songs, and using 80s songs in a story set in the 50s is a really interesting idea. It actually reminded me a little bit of Luca Guadagnino's film Queer from 2024 in the way that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross use Prince songs in that film, which is also set in the 50s. So maybe there's a trend, maybe it's just a complete coincidence. But I did really love the score and those needle drops, especially in the very beginning, when you get the shot of the sperm fertilizing the egg that turns into the ping pong ball during the opening credits, set, of course, to Forever Young. And then at the very end, Everybody Wants to Rule the World needle drop, which is very important and very on the nose and kind of like perfectly sums up the whole movie for you. This film is just crackling with energy all around. It is really, I mean, if you've seen Uncut Gems, if you've seen Good Time, you will immediately recognize the energy of this movie and the breakneck pace of it. It's a long movie, it's 2.5 hours, but it feels like it goes by in like half an hour. It's unbelievable the way this film is edited, the way it's shot, constant cross-cutting, constant characters speaking over each other, yelling over each other, noises from the street, noises from a room next door, music filtering in and out. It is a giant stew, a giant chaotic stew of sounds and images, yet none of it feels out of place. None of it feels overwhelming. The experience of watching it can be a little overwhelming, but the actual filmmaking itself is totally warranted. All of the decisions that Josh Safdie makes to make this claustrophobic yet expansive, exciting, at times terrifying sports drama that's also kind of an adventure film and also kind of a romance and a very, very funny comedy. It's just, it's towing the line of tones, and I think it just does it perfectly. The production design is also fantastic. Many eagle-eyed cinema-goers and cinephiles will note that Jack Fisk is the production designer on this movie. If you're not aware, he was the production designer for David Lynch, as well as Terrence Malick and many others. His work is legendary, and it's top tier here. You feel like you are in 1952, even though there are all these 80s songs, and the style of filmmaking is very, very modern, ultra, almost too slick at times to believably put you in New York of the 1950s, but it's all there in the production design. The cinematography equally is incredible. Darius Kanji returns after working with the Safdies on Uncut Gems. His claustrophobic camera, very rapid zooms and pans and moving with characters. This is a movie all about movement, obviously, with the table tennis. You're following the ball constantly, and the camera is right there with the ball the entire time, yet you never lose sight of the players, you never lose sight of the crowd. There's an incredible sequence in the British semifinals where Marty is playing against his friend, and they're kind of doing some exhibitionism. They're sort of doing their little tryout thing for what will be the Harlem Globetrotters halftime show, which of course Marty at first refuses because he thinks that it's ridiculous, and then he realizes that he actually needs that job to make the money. But they are lobbing the ball back and forth at incredible distances, and intercut with that you have shots of Kay, the actress, in the audience, admiring what Marty is doing. He, of course, invited her and is attempting to court her and woo her, obviously because of her money and her business connections. The character of Marty is fascinating to me because, once again, as in Good Time, as in Uncut Gems, Josh Safdie is presenting us with a person who is deeply conflicted within themselves while also being totally nailed down in their convictions of they believe what they're doing is right, and almost always they're making the wrong decision, or they're making a decision at the expense of people around them. In this case, it's a little different because Marty is an athlete, very unlike the characters in Uncut Gems or Good Time. He has a natural prodigious talent for this sport. He says that he's already beaten the champion of the British World Open. He says he's going to be on that Wheatie box. He says he's going to be put up in the Ritz, where the rest of the rich and fancy people who are there are residing, and he somehow talks his way in there. This is a guy who is able to convince every single person around him of his greatness. And going back to being made in America, that is a very American idea. He is both a table tennis prodigy and a grifter, a con man. He's a huckster. He's selling you something. He's selling you on the idea of Marty Supreme. He's selling you on the idea of the American dream, and how one Jewish kid who is a compulsive liar, who is a serial user of the people who love him and who care for him, can go against virtually every convention and every possible scenario that will prevent him from achieving his dreams. Nothing is going to stop this guy. And you get that feeling basically from the beginning of the movie and on up through its conclusion, where it appears that Marty is kind of faced with the ultimate test of whether he can give up all this ridiculous posturing and the aggrandizing and the constant display of showmanship, of showboating. He has to make a choice to be, quote, beyond embarrassment, as he says. And yet he is still fighting for that win, for that glory, because he demands, after the exhibition match, a real match between him and Endo, so that he can show the world his true talents. There's an incredible scene here with Kevin O'Leary as Rockwell talking to him about how he has seen people like Marty come and go over the centuries, and most of the ones who crossed him are not here. And he claims that Marty will never be happy. And really, happiness kind of is a subtle through line to this movie. Recently on The Big Picture, Josh Safdie spoke about this feeling that happiness is a haunted feeling. And he says it's haunting us all the time. And I think ultimately the crux of this film is whether or not Marty can ever truly be happy. Whether it's through the American-made ideal that he has kind of wrapped himself up in, the success and the wealth and the fame and every possible material item available to him, whether that is ever going to ever bring him true happiness. We can't really say. Marty himself seems to think that he is built and destined for a greater purpose than anyone around him. And of course, it alienates him from the entire world. He is stuck in this cycle within himself. Yet at the end, when it comes down to it, the only thing that can actually bring him true happiness is the birth of his child. And I think were this film made some years ago, maybe before Uncut Gems, it would probably have a less sentimental ending and be something a bit more cynical. That's kind of actually what I expected the first time I was going to watch it, because I've seen Good Time and Uncut Gems, and both of those films kind of end that way. But it ends on this happy note. Marty is with his presumably wife-to-be or girlfriend-to-be. We don't know where that relationship is going now that they have a child together. But he has come to terms with actually stepping up and being a good person and maybe changing his ways. We don't get a sense at all of how Marty is really going to change after this. The film cuts to black as he's crying and looking at his baby. But you want to imagine, after having watched this, that he really is going to change, or at least he has the capacity for change. And I must say, like, Timothée Chalamet's performance of getting us to actually root for and like a guy so despicable as Marty Mauser is truly great stuff. I mean, obviously the press tour, a lot has been made of it. Many people are kind of turned off by him and the way he's been behaving in the press lately because he's trying to sell this movie. But it's very important to note that this is a performance. His press tour is just as much a performance as he is giving in the film. He is in Marty Supreme mode. He is in sell, sell, sell mode. He's trying to get people out to see the movie, and he's also trying to relay something about the nature of what he's doing, what he's been doing for the last decade. This is a guy who has basically been trying to prove to all of us for a long time now that he's one of the greats. If anyone saw his Golden Globe speech from last year for the Bob Dylan film, you already know that. He wants to be up at the top. He wants to be on the high echelon with all of his heroes, and that's exactly who Marty wants to be. So he's playing a part in this press tour, but he's also, I think, very genuine and sincere about the things that he's saying, that's coming from a deeper place. And I personally love it. I just like to see something new, some kind of new playbook for people when, the awards conversations start coming up. A lot of times you just see the same sort of campaigns over and over. I've been following these awards races for several years now, and it's nice to see an actor try something new. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I personally really kind of hope he wins this Oscar because he's fantastic in the movie. Also fantastic in the movie is everyone. Everyone in this movie is great. Odessa Azion, who I guess I first saw in the Hellraiser reboot from a few years ago, but she is now on Rachel Sennett's show, I Love LA, and she's very funny and good on that. She's great in this. She gets a fantastic scene with Abel Ferrara. Abel Ferrara, of course, a New York staple, an iconoclast, a guy who could have made possibly this movie or a movie like this like 20 or 30 years ago. You can definitely see it, and I see why Josh Safdie cast him. Even Kevin O'Leary, who personally I have zero affection for, but he is really great in this film. I mean, he's playing a shrewd businessman, a real demon of a person who obviously has to draw on some serious life experience in order to come across as believable, and Kevin O'Leary is definitely doing that. There's some of the interactions between the two of them, especially when he's spanking Marty with the paddle. You can kind of imagine that maybe Kevin O'Leary has been in a position like that once or twice in his life. Tyler, the creator, once again, I thought was fantastic. He provides a lot of the comic relief. Fran Drescher as Marty's mother, she only gets a few scenes and some things over the phone, but she's really kind of affecting, and she herself is kind of a liar and kind of a sneak and a cheat and sort of the reason that Marty is the way that he is. This movie is about, for Josh Safdie, I think, fatherhood and finding happiness in fatherhood. Marty's father dies before the film's events. We learn when it starts that his father has just died, and then you get, of course, the introduction. He himself is going to be a father very soon, to the conclusion of him finding his baby and seeing his baby and accepting that maybe not everybody needs to rule the world, even if they may want to. I really love this film. I feel like I've only cracked the surface on all of the themes and things that repeat viewings of the movie will offer to me. It's easily my second favorite movie of the year. I don't know what kind of chances it has outside of Timothée Chalamet for Best Actor at the Oscars this year because I am putting all of my money on One Battle After Another, as are most people. But I do hope that people go and see this film in theaters where it is meant to be seen, where it is designed to be seen. I mean, just watching table tennis, ping pong, like, I couldn't personally imagine anything less interesting to me myself, but there it is on screen, and it is electric. It is thrilling watching these ping pong matches and watching Marty get himself into worse and worse situations and somehow, once again, through sheer force of will, be able to either talk his way out of it or run his way out of it or drive his way out of it or play his way out of it. It's a fascinating movie and one that I'll be thinking about for a long time. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel if you like things like this, and check out my podcast, Filmsplaining with Martyn Strange, wherever you get podcasts. I wish I had a ping pong ball to bounce off of my desk or something here for dramatic effect for the end of the video, but I will just have to say, till next time, happy viewing.